Good morning, and welcome again to the DC101 Report. This is part 3 of a 3-part look at the air personalities and staff at DC101. This series was intended to accomplish 3 objectives. Number 1 was to provide a better understanding of what a radio station is and how it operates, what goes on behind the scenes. Number 2 was to give you an opportunity to learn a little bit more about the air personalities that you hear on DC101. The third reason was totally selfish. I wanted to interview some people that I knew, and like the 2 people we're interviewing today, Grease and Smash, have been interviewed just about every day since they've been here in Washington, and frankly, I thought some people did a reasonably poor job. There were a lot of questions that people did not ask them that we will ask them today. This segment is being recorded in front of a very small and quiet live audience, so we'll see how well that works out. Good morning to both of you guys.
All right, Carl.
Any opening statements, before we get going?
I'll tell you this, man. You owe me big time for 7:30 in the morning on Sunday, buddy.
Okay.
But I can't tell you what I was doing before I came down here, but I'll tell you this much. It sounded like this when I stopped.
Oh. Okay. There's a lot of stuff we're going to get to today, so let's keep the story short. Let's go back to the beginning, Grease. When did you first want to be a disc jockey? What would you attribute the desire to? The sound you hear is Smash eating pretzels into his microphone, which I will now which I will now turn off. But I'm thinking like you're 12 years old. You got your first transistor radio, and you said, that's what I want to do.
Yeah, it was later than that. I was about 15 when I got a 20 on the algebra regents. I knew right then and there that I was not going to be I knew that I was not going to be a mathematician. I knew that I had to shriek for a living, and then it hit me. Right around 15, 16, that I could do the radio.
Don't
thing.
say that, people, because it's like telling people that you think you're a dummy. You graduated from what, Emerson?
Ithaca College.
Ithaca? You can't, idiots graduate from there.
Well, no, I got a grip on myself in the later high school years, and I just studied enough to get into college, and then I really think it's a good idea to go to college, but I just never really liked school. Even when I was in college, I got through that thing, but I never really basked in the fount of knowledge.
Smash, where did the desire come from, the original interest to be a DJ?
Well, I never wanted to be a DJ. I was a singer in a rock and roll band back in Indianapolis, and I was like a celebrity in town, so when the radio stations over there used to have celebrity night and have like the mayor come in and spin records, or the basketball team members. So they asked me to come in.
Mayor spin records?
Yeah. These have different area
Small
celebrities.
town U.S. I'm sorry, go ahead.
So I just came in and did it one night on a Friday. And then on next Tuesday, they offered me a job. So they offered me, $90 a week. And I can remember playing with the band like 7 nights a week and making, after paying all the bills, $50. And I thought to myself, well, dang, $90. Wouldn't have to travel no more and everything. So that's the way I got my shot in. So that's the way I got it. But I never thought about being a DJ or nothing.
Grease, what was your first station? How much money did you make? What hours you worked? This sort of thing.
I worked on the college station, of course, for nothing, free. But then in 1969, I got a job at WTKO, Ithaca, New York. 1,000 watts days, $2 an hour.
That's where it started. Kevin Pretzel,
Sure.
making me hungry sitting over there.
Yeah.
Go on.
No thanks, buddy. I'm all
For
right.
both of you, draw me a path from there to here. You from your first station in Indiana,
Okay.
and you from the station in where'd you work in between here and there? And I'm looking for whatever juicy stories you may have about the time you were there all by yourself and some honey showed up about 3 a.m. and up to, but not including DC101.
I worked at WNAP in Indianapolis, and I worked at KISS 99 in Indianapolis, and then I came straight to DC101. And my path to DC101, I guess, was I was the voice at DC101 for about a year and a half prior to my arrival here. So they came to me one day and asked me if I just wanted to take the voice.
What were you famous for? We don't say it anymore. But what were you famous for here?
Kick-ass rock and roll, I think, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I remember people call me from D.C., ask me if that was me saying kick-ass rock and roll. So I guess they don't say it no more because somebody's...
Let's just say we made up.
Yeah.
Few people mad. less than excited about it.
So that's my story, and they just brought me here. And I remember when they brought me here because Stern was here then, and I guess they had made the decision not to have Stern anymore, or Stern was leaving or something like that.
Well, a trivia question I asked the first group was who did mornings on DC101 in between Howard Stern and Grease, and the answer is?
This was Mashington right here.
Mm-hmm.
So I covered that interim period.
Mm-hmm.
And just
then we didn't know what to
people for
do
the
with
Grease.
him, and we had afternoons open, so we said, what the hell, let him stay.
So that's my story, just an easygoing thing.
Yeah, we couldn't afford another ticket back to Indianapolis, so we kept from Station 1 to here, and whatever little juicy bit you want to throw in there.
Well, let me see. It was Ithaca
Can't ask
69.
Smash about women because he's married. See, but you can tell us about
Yeah, by day. 69 in Ithaca. Then I went to Rochester. I stopped off in Hartford, Connecticut. I was in D.C. in 73. Thrown out brutally. Left in shame. Station in tatters. Stations have a way going all news when I go to them. And
You were at WRC?
WRC, they went all news. And so I was whimpering, Ned Beatty style. And then off to Hartford, that place went all news. And then down to...
That's true. I used to listen to that station when I was a little kid, WPOP.
Right. And then down to Jacksonville, Florida, where I kind of perfected my style.
Do this. If I drove through Washington when you were working at the old WRC, which used to be a top 40 station, left for a number of years and came back and caught Grease now, what's the difference between what you sounded like then and what you sound like now?
Night and day.
Mm-hmm.
Then I used to affect a different kind of voice. Now I basically use my normal delivery on the air, off the air, kind of the same thing, but then it was dramatically different. Hell, I was just a child. I was going through a divorce. I was 22 years old. I mean, my God. I remember I was with my wife at this Holiday Inn in Bethesda, and I just gotten the job. And there I was, nervous about starting the first day, and she's, what am I supposed to do in the hotel all day while you're there? And I'm thinking, baby, you got to support me, you know. And when are you going to be back? I don't know when I'm going to be back. There's a new meeting, and I got to go kiss a little talking, so please. So finally we had a big fight, and I remember walking out of that Holiday Inn.
On that first day?
That first day, and I didn't know where I was. You know, I was in Bethesda for the first, this is like 73. There I was, you know, tears in my eyes, wearing my voodoo boots and my Nehru jacket, and I'm walking down the street, and I'm thinking, I get no support from this woman. I don't know where I am. And every now and then, I go by that same hotel in that same street where I walked.
Yeah. And what do you do?
I feel, buddy, I put the Porsche in the fifth gear and got it! I fishtail in circles. I say, Mama, look at me now! Yeah, she joined a bowling league, and Breton, she's with some slob right now picking his guts, but he had a good job. He managed a shoe store. Well, let me tell her something. She's not there to spend that bucks now, baby. I'm going to buy that hotel one day.
And show her a picture of it?
And show her. I said, remember when you made me walk in tears? And I walked by there, and now I'm in glory. Glory.
Was there really an Estelle?
Well, I was married, yes. God, I was married.
Smash.
Yeah, there was an Estelle.
Smash.
I remember the night I forced her to bite that headboard.
What did you say?
Bite the
Grease
headboard.
knows that story, man.
Yeah.
It was after he was married.
I knew the girl when she used to rock and roll, right? What was pure funk?
Oh, well. What I wanted to be in my younger days was, when I saw the Beatles, I said, I want that. So
You never look like it.
Yeah, really.
Beatles.
I combed my hair in bangs and all this stuff. But we weren't into the Beatles. We were into the Temptations and James Brown and all them. And pure funk. I had a band in high school called Frenchie and the Wee Wees. And this was a white soul band. And we went to college. We broke our Frenchie. Pattern after the Soul Survivors, the Young Rascals, those kind of bands.
Okay.
And then we broke up because we all went to different colleges. And then in college, me and a couple of guys from the Wee Wees who were going to the same college together, Indiana University, we started up a band because we saw all the bands down there were either hippie bands or these way out bands. Everybody was into a way out type of thing back then. So I thought, well, let me start a party band. So we call it Pure Funk. And so we played funk, and that's all it was.
What did you look like in those days? I've seen the picture, and if this was TV,
that was the highest I ever saw myself. I always fluctuate in weight. I'm heavy or I'm light or whatever. I'm always heavy, but I'm always big. But
what are you wearing in the picture I saw?
The highest I ever saw myself on the scale was 305, and
I'm talking about the beard and the leather jacket.
Oh yeah, well, I had an afro. I went for 3 years without a haircut, and I don't have the kind of hair that falls down. I have the kind of hair that grows out,
curls out.
Yeah, so it was wild.
Compare the Pure Funk to the Atom Smasher Band. How are they different?
The only way really that they're different, both bands are a party band. The only way really that they're different is Pure Funk Band was looking for a record contract. Atom Smasher Band is merely an entertainment entity.
Mm-hmm.
And
how's the Smash Band changed over the years? I mean, the last time I saw you, you were a lot different, a lot tighter, even different music from that first night you premiered at the old Wax Museum.
Yeah, well, at first, what I wanted the Smash Band to be was kind of like just a fun type thing, and I played all my favorite songs. And then people started liking the Smash Band, so I just decided, well, let me try to align myself along with DC101 playlist, and I like all the songs we play on DC101, so usually DC101 listeners are the ones that hire the Smash Band, so that's what it is. So come out and entertain, and it's a party band. That's what.
So in Indianapolis, you were a rock and roller that DJ'd sometime. Here, you're a DJ that rock and rolls sometime.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Okay, we're up to DC101. Grease, how do you approach what you do? You come in, you get a bunch of records, you introduce the records, and you talk, or do you see it as something a bit more complicated or more sophisticated than that?
It's kind of a free-form rambling. I just sit there and, the phone calls come in, and I get ideas from the maggots, and just do it. I get in there, read the paper, first thing, and eat a can of tuna fish.
Smash. How'd you describe what you do?
What I do is Grease starts everybody perking them, and that's going to work, going to school, whatever. Now, coming back home, the perking is not necessarily that necessary. So what I do is entertain by playing a musical playlist and then entertaining in my own way with the format and dealing with the format as the Smash.
What the hell is he saying?
What I'm saying?
I work here. I don't know what he's saying.
What I'm saying is I just get on the air and try to avoid getting in trouble, I guess, is the best thing to say.
Can you say whatever you want to say?
I can say whatever I want to say, yeah, but I know what needs to be said.
Grease, there are two questions that always come up when people talk about what you do on the radio. One of them is, how can he get away with what he's saying? Isn't that against the law?
I'm not saying anything. I'm not saying. I defy anybody to point out anything that's against the law on my show.
I did a great tribute to Jim Neighbors the other day. Talking about.
Yeah, really.
Did you send that to Jim's mother?
We should. We should have sent it to Jim's mother a long time ago. His mother should have heard. Yeah. Hey, Jim Davis.
Why
does he do what he do? I don't know. He said he wanted to get something he could sink his teeth into, and so look at him now.
What are the boundaries on what Greaseman can say? Or are there any? I mean, what?
There are always boundaries.
Is there a point at which you're not allowed to go beyond, or is it a matter of?
Yeah, I'm not allowed to do anything in bad taste. Or
and what is bad taste is up to.
Well, no, really. I don't think I'm getting away with anything at all. We had a discussion long before I started the station what direction we wanted the Shrieking to go into, and the thing was to keep it, within the bounds of good taste and something that advertisers aren't going to be afraid of. And so, consequently, we haven't lost any advertisers, and life is good.
The other question that's always asked about Grease is, does he write? I can't get over the sound of you eating and drinking on my show. Every time I turn your microphone off, you say something.
I couldn't get pancakes.
Well, maybe if we get good ratings, I get a bigger budget, we can serve breakfast on this sucker.
Pretzels and a Coke on a Sunday morning for Christmas.
The other question that always comes up about Grease is, does he write his own material?
Yeah.
Where did the stories come from?
I just make them up. It's like I'm possessed sometimes. I sit there and I just open my mind and out comes this stuff. And I don't actually write anything down. I'll just do it. As you know, you've been in there.
How is getting up in the morning? What time you get up? Is it easy? You roll out of bed and struggle in here?
It's not too bad if you get to bed early.
Smashy's got the hours. You don't have to come to work till 2. You get off at 6.
I'm
and
telling
one day he had nerve enough to leave 15 minutes early. I couldn't believe it. Guy works 4 hours a day and he knocks off 15 minutes early. What the hell is his problem?
The trick is not to fight the sleep thing. What I do is, some mornings I'll go to, some nights rather, I'll go to bed, say 5 in the afternoon. And then I sleep till 2 in the morning. That's a good night's sleep. Get up, do odds and ends, pay bills, perk around. So it depends. Sometimes I'll take naps. Mm-hmm. I'll sleep 4 in the afternoon. My honey will come over, and we'll cuddle. And then I'll go to bed again at 10 or 11. So I don't worry about it. I just sleep when I'm tired.
Mm-hmm. Where did Greaseman come from?
Inside me, it's part of us all. I think there's a little grease in everybody. There's a little bit of Greaseman in there. There's a little bit of...
But I mean the name. Why not Torchman or Superfly or...
Superfly.
Does it mean anything?
You're not talking about the length of his zipper, please.
No.
Does it mean anything in particular? I mean, how'd you happen to choose that handle?
Well, Estelle gave me that name, actually. Yeah, we were hobbling one day, and I got the urge to do a little bit of the old flip-flop. To break it up, instead of the normal hobble, I tried the Parisienne. And that's how she gave me the name. Yeah, no sooner as I get started, she went, Grace, Grace, Grace! No, actually, the way I got the name was...
Do it to music?
Yeah, banjo music, but...
A lot of short songs on those albums.
Yeah, no. The way I got the name was in the late 60s. Everybody was on the radio, cooking. They would say, CKLW cooking, Motown. And so I just said I was cooking with heavy grease one day. Someone else at the station I was working at the time, referring to me, said the Greaseman. I thought, hey, what a neat name. So I kept it and been using it ever since.
Where did Adam Smasher come from? I'm assuming that your parents aren't Mr. and Mrs. Smasher and they gave you the first name Adam, okay?
Back when we were in the band, we were playing up in Chicago. I remember this very well. And I gave each of the guys in the band, I gave them a stage name. Like, our guitar player was Hedro Billingsley. He was like 6'8" and about 100 pounds.
Hulk Hogan.
And I called him Hedro Billingsley, the illegitimate son of Barbara Billingsley and Hugh Beaumont. I used to make up these stories about everybody in the band. And I couldn't think of a name for myself. And at the time, I was pretty heavy. And I was calling myself for about a week and a half. I came out with a name I thought was a good name. Was you know Nat King Cole, right? I was calling myself Nat King Kong. That's so big. And so that was about a week.
Jacket and beard and right?
So that was about a week and a half, and Toby Myers, who was our bass player, me and him were rooming out on the road in Chicago, and he woke me up in the middle of the night, about 5 a.m., something like that, and said, I just dreamed it. And I said, what are you talking about? He said, I got a name for it. Play on words. Adam, A-D-A-M, Smasher. I thought, man, that's a great rock and roll name, because I described the kind of singing that I did, explosive type singing. Mm-hmm. So I said, yeah, that's great, and we started as Adam Smasher the next day.
If anybody from Nat King Cole's family had walked in there, both of you use aliases. Is there a reason for it? Are you trying to hide your identity in any way? Are you wanted for murder in Nevada or something?
No, I'm not trying to. I just picked up the name and started doing it. Now it's just habit. I don't know. But sometimes using a weird name gives you a little charisma, a little oomph, as opposed to being just, hi, everybody, Johnny Venture.
Where did the Greaseman characters come from? Assuming that there really isn't a Sergeant Fury or a Big Dick Brannigan, or is Lawman patterned after your next door neighbor who was a cop kind of thing?
Well, the lawman came from my experience as a lawman in Florida for the years there, working with those crazy men down there. I got many of the ideas, going through the academy, the jokes, the attitudes.
This is before or after you did radio?
I was doing it while I was in radio.
Okay.
And then the Sergeant Fury just came because I like reading about, action and boo-da-da, even though I never really was in Nam. I enjoy, reading about, stories of bravery and courage under fire, and the stories of romance, or some part taken from truth, some from the trauma of my life. The weddings, the Estelle stories, it's all there's a little smattering of truth that starts them, and then I just exaggerate them to the ridiculous.
Mm-hmm. So they have some basis in some reality.
Oh, yeah.
Which your imagination takes over.
Right.
Can I say, categorically, to put the subject of rest of Greaseman and his characters, that you come in the morning, you have your basic characters, you take an idea, and you develop them. And if you tell 12 stories in a 4-hour period, you made all of them up that day.
Yeah.
Okay? We don't have a staff of 20 writers sworn to secrecy to write Greaseman bits and that sort of stuff. This stuff comes out of your mind.
Exactly. Although occasionally, like, people at the station will give me an idea. For example,
remember I've walked in. The thing that amazes me is I've walked into the studio, given this guy an idea, and have him doing a bit on it by the time I get back to my desk. Now, that's just unbelievable to me.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Smash, you don't do characters, why? Is it just you have a different style than him, or?
I used to do characters in my olden radio days before I was on this style of radio, which is, for lack of better things, is called AOR. I was in CHR, which is like top 40 type radio. I used to do the characters and all that stuff. But when I decided to try this AOR thing, part of the challenge was to drop that and try to be more of a rock and roll type of guy. So that's what I am, as a rock and roll guy. And I think everybody gets enough characters from the Greaseman in the morning for me to do characters and try to even be anywhere as great as this guy. I'd rather just avoid that. This guy's too good.
Both of you came here from different types of radio stations. Did that cause any adjustment problems for you?
Not for me.
No.
Shrieking and Reeking station I was at, they're probably all news by now, but they had changed it. On the way to that, they had turned...
You know what they are now? Religious.
They are
religious radio now.
It's making me nervous. Every radio station he works at goes all news. I'm afraid we're going to be out of work.
Yeah, by that. But I worked at a country station for a while. That didn't cause any problem. Bits are bits. You can do... I'd play Hungarian folk dances and do my bits in between if that's what people want to see.
It doesn't adapt, man.
You got me eating pretzels now.
Yeah.
Any adjustment problems for you?
Only thing was that this is a different kind of radio. In top 40 radio, I used to talk over the music. I really never had one of them big, boomer type of voices like that. But
yeah, thank God. We don't have to play that crap.
But then, once I got used to talking over dead air constantly, that I kind of got to enjoy it, and you just go with the flow now.
I think what you're referring to is like, if you're a DJ and you're used to talking over records and hearing the beat of the record carry you along, and all of a sudden when the record's over, you're there by yourself, and you go, you sort of catch you off guard. Grease, if I just listened to the Greaseman on the radio and I never met you and I didn't know you, the only impression I had of you, was what I got on the radio. Would it be an accurate perception? And before you answer that, let me tell you that as I've done the other interviews with the other people at the station, they split 50-50. Half of them said emphatically, yes, the grease on the air is the same grease off the air, and the other half said no, and they were both very, and there was no middle ground.
I guess it just depends in what context you know me.
Well, I'm not comparing notes with any of your honeys, but people say, what's the Greaseman really like?
Yeah, he's about like that, like that.
Yeah, that'd be it.
No, I'm pretty, my sense of humor continues off the air. I'm a pretty kind of wacky guy, but I'm a lot quieter. I don't walk around all day long going, so, I'm a lot quieter, but I still, keep that general wacky tone throughout my fiber, but...
I can tell the biggest influences on Adam Smasher are Bob Hope and James Brown.
Oh, yeah.
Bob Hope because he'll do anything for charity, and James Brown because he dances so well.
Thank you, sir.
Seriously. On the air, we get this impression Smash is a big, lovable guy, the ultimate party animal, into the rock and roll community. How accurate is that? Or to ask you the same question I asked Grease, if all I knew about you was what I heard on the radio, would I have an accurate perception of you?
I think the only perception that might be lacking is I do all the charities. As far as being a rock and roll animal, I was a little more of an animal in my younger days, but I still enjoy rocking and rolling. I kind of get to do that along with doing it here at DC101 with my band. It gives me that kind of release there. I enjoy that, but I'd say about the only perception that may be lacking over the airwaves is that I am a family man.
Mm-hmm. Is what you do on the radio an act, a presentation, a show, or is it an expression of your personality?
It is an expression of one of the parts of my personality.
Uh-huh.
It is also a role-playing thing in that I have a role on this team called DC101. And my role is to be what I am in the afternoon, as Dave's role is to be what he is in the middays, as your role is to be, and Grease to start the day off. Everyone has a role. And so I do my role as if we were the Lakers, let's say,
Yeah.
Grease is Kareem, I'm Magic, Dave is
You gotta be Magic,
Sam
man.
Worthy, whatever, So everybody has a role to make the team work correctly. And some guys may stand out more than other guys, but it's the whole team that comes out in the end.
As long as I don't have to be one of the big white guys that don't start. Grease, is it an act, a presentation, or an expression of your personality?
All of the above.
Okay.
All of the above. I just get on there and flow.
What is the most common misbelief or misconception about you or about radio in general, do you think?
The most common misconception. I don't know, but the misconception is that I sit up at night thinking of those things. I sit there at the Grease Palace and try to come up with wacky ideas. That's it, I guess.
What's the most common question you're asked when you go out in public? Besides, what are you doing after the show?
The most common question I'm asked, do you think it'll fit? And I say, well, baby. No, actually, the most common question I'm asked when I'm out in public is, where do you get those ideas? I think people wonder, what's going on in there? What's going on in there?
I asked the other DJs, what's the most common question they're asked when they go out in public? It says, is Grease coming?
Oh, shucks.
Smash. What's the most common misbelief or common misconception about you and or the radio station or the industry in general?
Oh, boy. That it is a constant party. It is the business of partying. And a lot of people don't understand that there's a business aspect to this. Indeed, we're lucky in that our job is to have a good time and purvey that on the airwaves, not only through the music, but through the way we present the radio station. But a lot of people think all you do is go on there and do 4 hours worth of work and you're out of there. But, I put it all together and I work 90 to 100 hours a week just by myself,
This is a business.
Yeah.
First and foremost.
Oh, yeah.
Smash, what's the most common question that you're asked when you're out in public?
I would have to go. I got two most common questions. Number one or number two is, how'd you get started in the business and this kind of stuff? And everyone asks me, is it Grease coming, or is the Grease, how is the Grease when he's not off the air and this kind of stuff? Do you guys hang around together? So it's definitely a question Greaseman's always brought up.
Uh-huh. What separates Grease and Smash from other disc jockeys? Like, hey, I used to be a DJ and I thought I was pretty good, but I was no Greaseman. I was no Adam Smasher. What do you think separates you from, as superstar DJs, from just the routine run-of-the-mill DJ?
Probably attitude and style, right on.
There you go.
That's it. That's all.
There you go.
Is there anything that you would like people to know about you that they don't know? Do you ever get to a point where, gee, I really would like, Smash was saying about the family, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Is there anything that This sounds funny. Is there anything you don't have an opportunity to tell them on your show that you'd like to tell them on my show?
Nah, buddy. Nah. I spill my guts every day. People know me inside and out.
You're both pretty successful at what you do. Is there anything disappointing about where you are? Thinking in either one or two veins, from the time you were a child and thought about doing this, is the reality close to the fantasy? Or if you can't do that, what's the best and worst thing you could say about being a disc jockey? Any DJ anywhere?
Everything seems to be all right to me because, as I understand it, a lot of DJs will start in a small city and then move on up to eventually try to get to a big city. I had a nice opportunity, so I went from a medium-sized city to, one of the top 10 cities in the United States, if not the top city in the world, as they say on the TV commercials. So that's a nice shot for me. So,
anything disappointing about it, Grease?
No, not really. The nicest thing about it is I have the opportunity to shriek and create every day. And the hard part about it is I got to do it every day, So the thing I enjoy is also a strain at times, but what the hey?
How much are you into the rock and roll? Do you play it and then forget about it till you need to talk again, or are you dancing on the turntables while the records are playing, that sort of thing?
I usually, if a song is new and I'm liking it, I'll be dancing to it.
Smash writes down the lyrics so the band can play it next week.
So I'm into rock and roll. I think you got to be into it in one way or another. You got to be into it in some manner to make it come off successful, to be successful on the radio. So I'm into it. I'm like, one of the things I always wanted in my life is the reason I got in the band in the first place. Like I said, I wanted to be a star type of guy, but the main thing I wanted was to never have to wear a suit to work. When I was a kid, I said to myself, man, I don't ever want to wear a suit to work. I want to go to work in blue jeans or overalls or something, And so
our studio audience is dressed like Joe Business over here.
So I just, I've been lucky in that I've been able to do that, at least to this point in time.
Grease? Dancing on the tables while the music's playing? Are you a rock and roll maggot? Or?
No, I am. I like it. I like to crank it up. I mean, sometimes I get out of that room, we got to recaulk the windows because I've had that thing cranked up. But a lot of times while I'm on the air, I'm answering the telephone so that I can get ideas from people and, take bit requests and stuff. So I can't always listen to the record. I hear the beginnings and the ends a lot of time, but not a whole lot of the middle.
Here's the middle of the record. God, I never heard that before. He played it this morning. A special note here, all the questions were chosen by me. The only questions I decided not to ask you was how old you are and how much money you made. The last one, because it's nobody's business, and I didn't want to know. May make me hurt my feelings. If you were not a disc jockey, what would you be, or what would you want to be?
I'd want to be a lawman or a cowboy.
Yeah.
Why?
I'd like to be...
No, hold on. Why?
Why? Just to ride that range, Winchester in hand, get along, little doggy, out there where the air is clean and crisp. Or to be a lawman for the excitement of driving 90 and shooting out the window.
Okay. Real excitement. Excitement jockey.
Excitement, yeah.
I'd like to be like, a beach bum or a construction worker. Just hang around the beach, maybe be a lifeguard. Don't have no bills, just have a house on the beach, go out and be a lifeguard, and that's it. So someday that's what I hope to get to eventually, is to have enough so that only time I need to move. I can see myself on the beach like a whale with the water just lapping up my side. The only time I ever need to move is to get on one of them old people's tricycles like they got in Florida and ride to the 7-Eleven, get my Slurpee and go back and lay down, buddy. That's all I really, that's what I'm working for eventually, for that.
I've heard people say over and over again that DJs are frustrated actors. Do you agree with that?
Well, I would like to go act sometime. I think I could do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're going to do our version of Miami Vice.
Where do you see the industry going? Can video kill the radio star, as the phrase goes?
Not in my opinion. You know, because you can't. Well, I would have to say maybe a little less now than before, but it's easy to take a radio with you. It's hard to take TV everywhere. Although they got these, Watchmans nowadays and everything, but people driving their cars, and I tell you what, back in Indiana, if you drove 40 minutes to work, man, it was like you were in a whole different state. Here, 40 minutes to work ain't nothing, you know.
Not only that, you're going to go 5 blocks in 40 minutes.
So, people are going to be listening, at least in their cars. I think maybe in their homes, people might watch TV a little more, play records and stuff.
Yeah.
But in their cars,
I'd like to see them hook that cable up to them Watchmans, too. Be dragging that sucker down the street. Grease, where would you like to be in 5 years? And if you're still here in 5 years, would you be disappointed?
No. I get the feeling I probably will still be here in 5 years.
That's what the maggots wanted to hear. Smash.
I would imagine that in 5 years, the thing about D.C. that I found out coming from Indiana is that D.C. is like a mega city, man, and you are as big out of D.C. as you would be out of L.A. or New York, any of them places. So one of the things, like I said, I always wanted to be renowned, so this is a good place to be renowned.
And not have to wear a tie.
And this is a good station. This is beyond just the DJs. Even before me or Grease got here, this station had a national reputation. This is a prime rock and roll outlet in America, and so to be a part of that is
there
fine.
There are other stations around the country who listen to this. They take the stuff that we do back.
Yeah. So if I'm here in 5 years, that's cool. And I don't know what's going on in 5 years, man. I used to try to dream what I'm going to do in 10 years, I'll be a movie star and all that stuff, and I just kind of got old and said, forget about it, just go with the flow.
Is there anything you wanted me to ask you I didn't ask you?
Yeah.
What was that?
I would appreciate it if you asked me if I could have, if you would give me a napkin to wipe my mouth here on this pretzel breakfast you provided.
Well, I'm eating your pretzel now.
All right.